Morning, everyone. Welcome to MRTB. Maybe the second last one ever. Mark's Gospel, chapter 6. And this is a very bizarre story. Verse 45. Immediately he made his disciples get into the boat and go on ahead to the other side of Bethsaida, while he dismissed the crowd. After saying farewell to them, he went up on the mountain to pray. When evening came, the boat was out in the sea, and he was alone in the land. When he saw that they were straining at the oars against an adverse wind, he came towards them early in the morning, walking on the sea. He intended to pass by them, which is a pretty funny line when you think about it, because the whole story is set him up as watching the disciples in the middle of the water, straining at the oars, and then he gets up and goes towards them, and you assume he's going to go help them. But it says he was actually planning on going straight past them. I can just imagine Jesus like looking at the boat and giggling. Look at these silly idiots. They don't have powers. They can't battle against the wind and the waves. Anyway, he intended to go straight past them. But when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a ghost, and they cried out, for they all saw him, and they were terrified. But immediately he spoke to them and said, "Take heart, it is I, do not be afraid." Then he got into the boat with them, and the wind ceased. And they were utterly astounded, for they did not understand the loaves, but their hearts were hardened. This is such a wild story. Jesus walking on the water. It reminds me of a Dua Lipa song, New Rules. My kids were watching that the other day, and the film clicked to it, and there's this scene where her and like all her dancers kind of walk out into the middle of a pool, and it looks like they're walking on water, and they kind of fall to the side and dive in the water. And it's just a trick, right? Like they've got some kind of glass or some like perspex walkway in the water for them to walk on or something. And I think when we hear stories like this, we immediately go to that. It's some kind of trick. It's like a magic trick. Jesus is just this amazing magician. A lot of atheist people, I guess, read these stories and go, it's all just made up. It can't possibly be true because people can't walk on water. But I think what we forget is these people aren't stupid. The first century writers, the eyewitnesses who are telling these stories, they're not stupid. They know that people can't walk on water. What they're experiencing is God come in the flesh. They're experiencing something wholly different in the world. Someone who has utter control and power and sovereignty even over nature, over the wind and the waves. And the story ends with that line, they didn't understand the loaves. As if Mark is saying, why were they so surprised by Jesus walking on the water? They literally just saw him create food out of like a tiny, for thousands, out of like a couple of loaves and a couple of fish. They shouldn't have been surprised. They should have known. It should have been clicking in their minds. My question is, it clicking in your minds? Are you beginning to see that this Jesus isn't just some kind of historical figure, but truly the Lord of all?